Right, we did it. I said I was going to set up to record a video. And here I'm recording a video outside in the midday sun where it's roasting hot. As I was writing my morning pages this morning, I found myself writing about fearless self-expression. And then I got to thinking about my morning pages, the process, about what used to come out when I was drunk, when I used to write journals and letters to people, and about the idea of the fearless component of fearless self-expression. Now, if we look at AA, the word fearless comes up in step 4, as we took a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves. So it's that fearless part that I want to talk about today, because I've come to the conclusion that it's fear that's been causing my problems all the way through life. It's fear of being judged, I think, is the main one. Now, there's part of me that seeks human connection. I think we all have that desire in us to connect with our fellow humans. And that is what the fear has been getting in the way of for me. And alcohol used to take that away, and drugs as well. That'll be why I used to find myself having to take codeine in order to be able to work a full day at the post office, where human connection was part of the process over the post office counter. Hi. Is that first or second? 79 pence, please. £1, thank you. And drinking in order to socialise and to feel comfortable in my own skin and in other people's company. And that's just crazy. When I used to read, reading has always been my means of escape. And I think I found connection to source through reading other people's art, for want of a better word, because I mean writing is a form of creative art, isn't it? So when I would read books, I would get a connection to source. And quite often when I was feeling overwhelmed or anxious or stressed or whatever the negative emotion might be, I could recenter myself by reading. And I think what that would do is it would get me out of my own head, and it would help me to re-establish a connection to something bigger, which is what AA teaches, isn't it? It's all about finding a higher power, which is a concept that I might go into a bit later. We'll see. What I was talking about with the human connection angle was the fact that when I was drunk, I used to crave that human connection, and I think it's because the fear was taken away from me. And in everyday life, even in sobriety, I find myself fearful of other people. Not fearful, the fear gets in the way of connecting. And what happens when I do my morning pages every day, which I've been doing out here pretty much all week this week, which has been amazing. When I sit down and I write out 2 pages with a fountain pen, and I enjoy this amazing location where I live, #gratitude. When I'm in that moment, the connection is there. I'm in that moment. I'm going through my thoughts. I've no idea when I sit down what I'm going to write, just as when I make videos quite often I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I think that idea of self-expression is a way of connecting to source. And what I'm finding now with doing it every day and making a habit of it is that it gets incrementally better. And I hope that what I write about is getting better as well. Or maybe not the topics I write about, maybe the way that I write about those topics is getting better. It's like when you look back at your early YouTube videos, you're like, oh my God, that's awful. Hey, what's up, YouTube? And I'm hopeful that in 2 years' time I'll look back at this one and think, oh, that was awful. Because I want to get better incrementally, not just with the technical skills and all of that, but with the mental health, the recovery, the sobriety, all of those positive things that improve every day through practicing fearless self-expression. Now, one of the things I did yesterday was I watched a couple of videos from part-time YouTuber Academy Cohort 1 fellow graduates. So that's where in 2020, November 2020, lockdown, I joined a video making course that was run by Ali Abdal. I met a bunch of people on there. It was just an amazing experience. And since then I've continued, maybe not weekly, but fairly regularly to put videos out and talk about these topics and to express myself fearlessly. So my Canva subscription was up for renewal, and I had 2 members from PTYA that were in my Canva team. So I wrote to them and said, do you still need to be on my team? Because I'm kind of paying for it and I'm not sure that you're still using it. So through that, I was reminded of some of these people that I kind of lost touch with a bit. And then I looked up their YouTube channels and I started watching some of their videos, and one of them in particular was Bhav, who's now running, I think she's Ali Abdal's personal assistant, but she has a podcast called Creators Campfire, and she interviewed Elizabeth Phillips, who at the time of the course was Ali Abdal's personal assistant. And she's gone from basically 0 subs to 100k in a year, and she's now at over 700k. And when the interview was recorded, she was just coming up to 100k, and she talked about what that felt like and how scary it was and how the process worked for her. And it was just so inspiring.
I cannot even relate to the way that I used to feel about social media or the way that I used to feel about myself when I first started YouTube. So it's honestly changed me so much as a person. And those are things that you cannot put like a subscriber count or a price on.
Hey guys, welcome to Creators Campfire. In this episode, I sit down with YouTuber and medical student Elizabeth Phillips.
And it inspired me to, get back on camera again and express myself fearlessly, because I believe that, well, first and foremost, what I'm doing helps me, right? The writing, the videos, the fearless self-expression, these processes help me to get well, to stay well, to improve. But I believe that by doing this and putting it out there, I'm hoping that I'm kind of leading by example, and that other people can find this and see ways in which you, if you're suffering, can actually lessen the suffering and start to find ways into recovery. It doesn't have to be through AA or NA or any of the other 12-step programs, although that's how it worked for me. But that's not the only way. Now, perhaps without the background in 12-step work, I might not be sitting where I am right now. In fact, there's a strong likelihood that that's the case. So that was my journey to where I am. But I haven't been to a meeting in, 2 years, maybe longer. And do I miss it? I do. I miss lots of things about it, but I think that this is the continuation of my journey. I've got to a place where I can look back at what I learned during my 12-step work. I can look at what I'm reading about now. I'm reading a lot about politics, and particular conservatism, which is kind of a baffling thing to me as well. But I'm finding ways of becoming closer to the person I want to be. And I'm using role models, people like August Bradley, people like Rich Roll, people like Stephen Pressfield. I've got authors and writers and video makers, people that inspire me. Gary Vaynerchuk, he was probably one of the first. It was 2018, back before I joined the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, and he talked about how being in your 50s, it's not too late. And it's not. I've got to believe that, otherwise I would just quit, I think. So mentors like that, or role models who are out there putting out content every day, in some instances are writing books, like Stephen Pressfield's book that I just finished, called Government Cheese. A memoir about how he didn't get started until he was in his 50s. And with success and happiness and all of that. And so here I am in my 50s, in recovery, struggling with day-to-day stuff just as always, but finding little things that I can do that help me with that, such as talking to camera, off the cuff, unscripted, just to see what comes out. And I believe quite strongly that creative self-expression, it's the source, it's the key. Jeffrey Sidoris, he's another role model of mine who talks at length about his process, about his creative work. He's an artist, he's a photographer, he's a writer. And he's finding his way in the world, online, talking it out, being authentic. And it helps me massively to see other creators like that who are doing what I'm doing, you know, with varying degrees of success. It's just so inspiring. And I'm finding ways of becoming a better dad, better husband, better friend through this creative pursuit. It's madness. Madness, I tell you. But it's working, so I just want to get this out there. I said in my morning pages today that I was going to do this, and I talked about the resistance I was facing, which is a thing Stephen Pressfield has helped me with enormously, particularly in his book The War of Art, where he talks about resistance with a capital R, and seeing how he's overcome resistance is so helpful to me, you know. When I talked about how it was going to be difficult to find the time to do this, the hassle I was facing setting cameras up outside in bright sunlight in the middle of the day. So I'm experimenting with technical wizardry, shooting on a new camera that I'm not quite sure how to work yet. I mean, that's me practicing the art. And then I said in my morning pages that I was going to sit down and do this because I'd just spoken about fearless self-expression, and so what was I even doing if I wasn't going to walk the walk? So here I am walking the walk, doing what I said I was going to do. Here we are. So I'll just finish by saying that I'm in a great place right now. It's a good time. I'm happy in my own skin. I know that that might change at any minute, but for the moment, I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying life, I'm enjoying being in my 50s. I'm enjoying having my health and having my family around me. Yeah, things are pretty good. And they can be for you too. I hope they are, but if they're not, they will be. Thanks for watching.